Welcome to the Blairstown Township Committee meeting for Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023. Can we have an opening roll call, please, Kristen?
This is Lance.
Here.
Mr. McAtura.
Here.
Mr. Orcott.
Here.
Mrs. Waldron. Here. Mayor Moorhead.
Here. Can we all please rise for the salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, setting forth the time, date, place, and purpose of this public meeting through a legal notice published in New Jersey Herald and/or the Star Ledger following the Township's annual reorganization meeting at which the 2023 meeting schedule was adopted. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a Wednesday night. And we're all ready. It's really nice to see a good crowd tonight. I don't know what all of you are doing here, but I guess we'll learn soon enough. First off, we open it up to the public right off the bat, and I do see Robert Boyle, President and CEO of Planet Networks, has joined us tonight. We spoke on the phone a little earlier. You said you'd like to come by and give us an update on what's happening in Blairstown with your network, and I said, come on up. Public meeting is first. Public session, so come on in and have a seat.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can everyone hear me? Okay?
Bring it right up to you now.
Can everyone hear me?
The public loves that.
Is it muted or not? No.
So if the
Can you hear me?
red light's on, that means you're good.
Okay, good, awesome. Thank you for having me here. I wanted to just give you an update. You may run out of this, but so everything here in the municipal building has been updated. The phones and Wi-Fi and network and everything is good. I think we connected one of the firehouses. We're waiting for a couple other permits to come through to finish connecting the other buildings that we're connecting. For you guys, we connected a couple more, put up a couple more taps, I think, on 521, and then we ran some backbone stuff. We had some stuff that we had contractual obligations, like government stuff that we had to get done in Knowlton, so we ran a bunch of lines through Blairstown. We haven't lit anyone up in Blairstown with those lines, but stuff is going to Knowlton now, so all the things on that path we're going to come back and put taps up on shortly. So we haven't had a huge amount of progress in Blairstown at this point, but we have been running lines and we have been getting stuff done. And in the wintertime, it's been a challenge. So we've been kind of now the weather's getting better. We're planning to build a lot more, and we're also hiring. If you have any kids that are at home doing nothing, send them our way. And if anyone around here is looking for a job, we'd love to hire. We have like 45 positions we're hiring for right now. We just can't get enough people. We're at 115 people now, and we want to be at like 200. We just can't find enough people. So.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
But we've had no complaints about our phone system here. I mean,
No, it's about the phone system.
it's been pretty awesome. Yeah. So we thank you for that. You guys brought us into the 21st century with telephones for sure.
And we'll be building more this spring and summer, and hopefully connecting a lot more people. So
Excellent.
we have a bunch of customers already downtown, and a number of people that are connected today. It's just not as many as we'd like, but that's on us, the public.
And I hate to bring this up, but the last time you were here, your exact quotes were we would have all Blairstown connected by the end of December. So my question to you is, obviously that hasn't happened, but you're in Knowlton Township and so it sounds like you're just kind of expanding without maybe fulfilling your obligation that you had promised us to do.
So we are dependent on JCP&L and Brightspeed, formerly CenturyLink, to give us pole permits to be able to. So we have surveyed all of the poles and we have submitted them, and we get stuff when we get it. So it's not up to us when we get permission to do this. I mean, sometimes it takes 6 months, and sometimes we'll get something back in a week, and it's all kind of whenever it happens. And we plan our crews around what we have permits for. So if we have a bunch of permits in an area, but we can't reach that area because we don't have the permits to get to it, then we can't, we could build it, but we can't serve anything there. So we try to, every time we build something, we try to make it so it's contiguous so we can actually turn on service. So.
What is your time frame as far as a reply from Jersey Central and?
And Brightspeed?
Yeah.
So legally, they have 90 days to respond to us and grant permission to use the poles. And that sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. It's all kind of, the thing is, we're kind of at the mercy of the pole owners, and sometimes we can't attach until we upgrade a pole. And so there's some poles that we've been waiting to have upgraded for over a year. And, it's just, if there's a reason that we can't go past that pole because it has to be upgraded, then we're kind of at their mercy. They have to respond to us within 90 days, but they don't necessarily have to upgrade the pole in any particular.
And they're the only people that can upgrade the pole. You can't upgrade.
We're not allowed to do that. So I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but
Yeah.
in some, the FCC regulates in some states, and in New Jersey opted out of the FCC regulation. So if we were an FCC state, like we do work in Pennsylvania as well, we've expanded and we're doing stuff in Hudson Valley, New York as well. And the stuff that we're doing in Pennsylvania, we can do pretty much everything all completely on our own. Unless it involves actual power, we can fix everything and do everything ourselves. In New Jersey, because they opted out of the rules, but they didn't make any rules, it's kind of whatever the phone company does, so. But,
Great.
so.
What percentage would you say is wired up in Blairstown?
I'd have to have my people check that, but I think it's probably like 25%, something like that. So that's a guess. I have to, and
The whole village area is.
Oh, yeah. We have a lot of people there who are connected. 521 is mostly, I think, all done. We've got, I'm trying to think what other areas, like going out to the Silver Lake is all connected and available. So it's, there are sections, and again, it's all based on kind of permits. If you want, I can have my engineering team put something together. I can give you guys an update,
Yeah.
specifics on that. So, but I haven't been in here for a while. I haven't talked to you guys, so I just wanted to come in and give you an update, let you know where things stand.
I'd be interested if you would, if you'd come back maybe in June and give us another update 3 more months from now.
Sure.
It'd be great to see where we made progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's specific things, it might actually be helpful for some of these things if you guys, if I say, hey, this thing, we asked to have it upgraded a year ago, if you could reach out to, it's not Jack anymore, I can't remember who.
Rich Ribbits?
Yeah.
So,
We would be very interested in doing that.
okay.
Yeah.
Sure, that would help, because you guys get results a lot faster than I do. So.
Yeah, and this
It's a good time, yeah, the timing is good for you.
This is a necessity at this point.
Absolutely.
We can't keep fooling around with 15 up.
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, what do I get?
1.5.
1.5 up and maybe 15 down. You can't work like that. No one can, not in this day and age.
I'll trade you.
Well, your street is special, but it's, yeah, we need better internet.
And we are working on it. I think part of it is having enough help, and part of it is getting these permits cleared, and part of it is just the winter.
How are you getting responses from the public? Are people contacting you?
Yeah, I
Sign
don't
on?
know the total penetration, but I know that where we do have service, there are, a number of people have signed up. I don't know exactly what that number is, but I can find out.
Yeah, I would like to hear that also, because there's a lot, we have Optimum here, we have CenturyLink, as you know, and then you. So I'd like to know what percentage of the public is either not aware still,
Sure.
or, we can give a little incentive, a little push to. Okay, thank you.
And that definitely helps. I mean, the higher the penetration in an area, the faster the return on investment, the faster we can reinvest that back in other areas. So, we want to serve everything, we want to get everything done. It's been a little bit of a, we've had some delays, and we're working to get through those. But I just want to come back and let you guys know. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we have other members of the public here, obviously. I have no idea what what some of you would like to talk about, but this is your time. You have 5 minutes to come on up. Who wants to be first? Oh,
Yeah. Some folks are clearly here about the
Clearly-
ordinance. No, about the, well,
Clearly you.
Well, because I go out and speak to people.
Oh, no, I think you may have spoken to some people at a meeting on Monday night.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
But some folks are here for the lead paint, so they will speak during, the proper time for them is during the open hearing for the lead paint ordinance. Right?
If that's what they're here for, yeah. I have no idea what's holding what
So
they're doing.
I just wrote it in like a letter.
Okay, we need your name and your address.
All right, Annalise Thompson, THOMPSON, 23 Cokeville Road. Kids today have a lot of pressure. School, drama, home, sports, and more. Generally, to numb their emotions, they go onto their phones, disconnecting from society and themselves. When our kids go to Blairstown stables, they're not just going there to reconnect with the world or ride horses, but also visit the hounds. They have learned a lot about character and responsibility through them. By helping to feed, clean, and walk these hounds, they have gained a sense of responsibility and an understanding of what it takes to own an animal. One of the kids, Drew, has hunted with us only 3 times so far. Drew and many more of the kids at Blairstown Stables have looked up to being able to hunt ever since they found out what it is. And I am hoping that they get a chance to go out and hunt just like I have. But hunting won't be possible without our hounds. I have seen firsthand how happy these hounds make the kids and me. Whether they are having a bad day or a good one, the hounds have been able to restore friendships, create new ones, and give us all a great laugh. All it takes is one look at the hounds and our faces light up. As an example, I have met an amazing hound named Danger, who has helped me to get through all of the challenges I've had in my life so far, preventing me from making mistakes and giving up. While I made her better at listening to commands that she gets given, proving that these hounds can not only make us better, but we make them better too. Helping to teach the youth of our generation, the only thing that I can ask is that you consider thinking of these kids and our hounds when you make your decision. You are what decides whether our youth become compassionate and strong leaders or unpleasant, disagreeable adults.
We have some unpleasant, disagreeable calls every now and then come through here, but you are certainly not. Thank you for that.
Mayor, if you'd like a little context on
This
this?
seems like it's your bowl of rice, yes.
No, it's not my fault. At the land use board meeting on Monday night, we had quite a crowd there, actually, probably 50 people, pretty big crowd. We were discussing the kennel ordinance, and we had the animal control officer coming in to answer questions that the board members may have to make sure we were all on the same page in enacting the ordinance. Unbeknownst to us, there's kind of like a there's clearly a neighbor dispute going on, and it surfaced at the land use board meeting, unbeknownst to us at the land use board, and it was quite interesting, and we had to put context to it there also. The group, the hunting club, had been in front of the land use board in 2019 I certainly can't speak to everything. If I did something wrong, you guys go up and straighten me out. But they have hounds involved in their horse program, horse pony program, hunting program, and they have hound dogs. And these apparently the hounds are noisy to one of the neighbors. I'm hearing that this group has done a lot to eliminate that, and as part of what they talked about the other night, there were no complaints in 2000, there were no complaints in 2001, a complaint here and there in the last couple of years, but again, there's a neighbor dispute, and it was a little sensitive in that issue, that part of the discussion. The group is concerned that we're enacting an ordinance that would prohibit them from doing anything, and that's really not the case. That's not what we're looking to do, number one. Number two, they're a pre-existing non-conforming use if we did enact the ordinance, so there's that. And
So they'd be grandfathered.
they'd be grandfathered. And there's other things going on that we weren't aware of at the land use board meeting, but, you know, they're talking through the farm program, through the ag development board, and they may go that route if they can bring the dogs under that umbrella. They may or may not. I don't know. They don't know. Nobody knows. An interesting route, and not a bad thing either, but there's nothing we're not acting, the township committee is not considering the second reading of the kennel ordinance at this time. We did first reading, there were too many questions, and we said, okay, let's push it back. At the land use board, as some of you folks know, we talked about it at length, and we referred it at the land use board level to another subcommittee. They're going to come back with some other ideas of how to change the ordinance. Maybe we're just going to end up with kennels allowed in the GCI zone, and that's it. And we're going to do something to legitimize rescue to some degree, but we're not. Nothing's going to happen soon. If at all, nothing's going to happen. So
Can I just make one statement, because it's really directly to what you're talking about, Kristen, and I
if you use the mic and you talk into the
I
mic,
spoke to
there you go.
Kevin Benbrook about this prior to the meeting. He's not aware that there was a resolution drafted by Roger Thomas years ago with regard to this specific issue and the use of that property. And so what I've done is I've asked Mr. Benbrook to get a copy of the CD, the minutes of the meeting, and the resolution from Roger Thomas as to the reason why this was not permitted at that time. So I'm just giving you that, so this ends up on the record now. And then it can be
I have
brought
that
back.
whole packet. Those packets were circulated today of all the stuff that
Good.
happened in 2019.
Good, okay.
And,
The ordinance that I drafted was not initiated by this committee.
No, it's for the land use board,
There was a master plan reexamination undertaken at the land use board. The ordinance that we prepared and reviewed really came from them. I basically just cleaned it up, so on and so forth. I don't even know if we did introduce it at all. I don't think we have. We just kind of sent it there to take a look at.
No, we were going to,
It was up for adoption, and then we stopped
Okay,
the adoption.
we didn't even do it.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
stopped
so
the
that was
adoption.
kind of the genesis of it. It kind of came from the land use board, so it can certainly go back there for further review. Commercial farm certification might be an answer as well. That definitely could be, I think might actually be productive. Because then you can get a site-specific, site plan approval from the county ag board. And I think the hounds are an ancillary use to the board, so I would think they'd probably take jurisdiction, so. But, yeah, we can, nothing's urgent. We can play around with it as long as we need to make sure it serves what its purpose is supposed to be.
I think we're going to be moving fairly slowly on this,
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
it's all good.
Okay. Well, there you have it. Thank you for that well-presented story. Henry Dole. Good morning, good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I
Get
can.
right on that mic, you're doing great. That's
All right. So I'm here. We've sent our original proposal, and I resent our secondary proposal to Kristen earlier tonight. Keep a lookout for it. If you don't have it, please reach back out to me. It is about our yearly flag raising in Woodbridge Park for Pride Month. Our event, our ask this year is for it to again be the first Saturday in June, as June is recognized as the federal month to celebrate Pride in these United States. This year we are hoping, we've been in correspondence with a local vendor. I'm sure you know her, McKittrick Chabot. She runs a food truck. We would like to add that into our ask. That is in the new proposal that I sent to her. To kind of have it be more of people coming together rather than coming for a couple speeches standing in the hot sun. I'm sure everyone would prefer a nice ice snow cone or something to drink or eat in the meantime while we're getting our stuff together and raising our flag. I figured it would be a great addition to our project to show as the nice man from and a network stated are steps into the 21st century.
I think it's a great idea, having attended both of the prior events. I mean, it's been nice. We even talked about, hey, I think at the first one we said, this can grow into something much bigger.
Yes.
And this is a good step.
Yep, I verified with her that all of her certifications are currently up to date, and she is already in contact with the fire marshal for having that date open. I just wanted to bring that up here, as it may be a point that we need to discuss further.
Any discussion, opposition?
I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It's been
Had a
a
great
great
turnout,
event the
so-
last 2 years.
Yeah, and then, like we did last year, we're also going to continue our, because we've always done our pet pride competition, where you could dress up your pet in little rainbow colors, and your pet will win a prize. Last year we did it where we had a theme where people could come dressed up and also win a prize. That went over very, very well, actually. Our theme last year was Rainbow Extravaganza. I've yet to come up with a theme because we hadn't had this meeting yet. So we're working on it, but we're also going to be doing that as well. All the prizes are donated. I remember our talk about our quote-unquote vendors, because they're all under the little things that we don't have to have tents, so it does not move into another jurisdiction. But beyond that, the only addition this year would be that food truck.
Okay.
And she's a local resident. I figured we could continue keeping her business in.
We're very supportive of the food truck and
Yes.
their efforts.
I know that you have been in contact with her about having a pop-up, so I know that that is something that you were talking with her about.
We need more of that.
I know, but I figured it would be a great ask and a great addition to the event that we work on.
Absolutely.
What would be your hours? What are your proposed hours?
So our hours, because I know that she's going to need a little bit of time to set up, so our full event time would probably be, my goal is to start the event around noon, have speeches start again at 1, and then run to maybe 4 or 5 o'clock. But on paper, we would need our event to start 2 hours prior to it, because all of her food is fresh and prepared on site. So we would, we only ask for that, instead of noon to 5, it would be 10 to 5, simply because she was going to need to be allowed to be there to set up and get ready for the event, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it is expanding in both directions from our previous years, where it has only been 1 to 4, but I figure with the addition of food and drink in the hot summer sun, it would give us a little bit more longevity.
It has been hot each year.
Yes.
It was a very hot day. At least
Yeah.
it didn't rain. I mean, pick
That
good
is
days.
true, and the sun always seems to find its only spot where there's no shade behind those trees and bushes there.
It does.
Yeah. But do you guys have any other questions for me?
So you are promising that there are going to be snow cones?
I'm promising there is going to be frozen drink.
Okay.
It is a
He likes snow cones a lot.
It
It's
is
well
a
known.
taco truck. They have their own form of our snow cones, so it will be, you will have something
Fine.
frozen to
Could be
eat,
a-
I promise.
Fine.
Snow taco.
Yes, it'll be very on theme, colorful and fruity.
So my only
I
question
can
is,
say
is
that
it
again.
rain or shine, or do you have a rain date for it?
Sorry, go ahead.
Rain or shine, or do you have a rain date for it?
We do not, I wasn't planning on a rain date, we have been pretty consistent. Worst case scenario, I know that Phillipsburg Pride would be the next weekend, so we're probably gonna do a rain or shine.
Thank you.
And we have a pavilion, so.
Yeah, it's been mostly of the pavilion and anything, and I don't mind getting a little wet to put that flag up.
Do you have any idea how many people have come?
So our first year, we estimated that about 100 to 150 people came. Last year, our estimate was between 150 to 200.
Yeah, certainly it was a noticeable, I mean, the first year was surprisingly well attended.
Yes, absolutely.
And the second year, there was a noticeable increase.
Yeah, there was a noticeable increase. Our biggest complaint was our lack of accessibility to food or drink, because a lot of people came through, stopped, didn't have anything to like do or stand around and eat or do something like that. So we did have a lot of quick stops. So I'd rather retain the people for this event.
All right, so you might need support from our DPW as well for garbage.
Oh, yeah, that would be part of
Because,
it.
well, we didn't have to, there was no such thing as garbage for the event in past years, so we need to make sure we think about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Do we need traffic control?
Everyone that has attended has been able to park in the park lot there.
Yeah, either park in the park lot or we've had people walk over, but there's not been a traffic issue so far. We may in the future as we continue to grow, but with the estimated scale and size that we have with this one step in our plan or in our direction to growing, I don't think that we're going to need traffic control.
When the Ferris wheel arrives.
Yes, yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, when our boss has
Henry, I just looked at my emails and I did not get.
Okay, I'll
so
resend
just
it.
resend it, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Do you have more?
No. Do we need to take formal action?
We don't even
We're
have
waiting.
to- We don't even have a request yet.
We'll authorize we'll do a motion to authorize the clerk to handle it when it comes in.
That's it.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Yeah, you did,
Aye.
I just did.
All opposed? Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time.
You're welcome, Henry. All right, since you know everyone in the crowd, who's next, Walter?
Mayor, I'd like that. Let's have David Shotwell come forward. David, can come. Have a seat, David, for.
Thank you.
So just so the public is aware, the committee, I don't know if the committee all saw this.
It's heavy.
I'm pretty strong too. This has to weigh like 50 or 70 pounds.
That is,
It's a granite.
it is.
Well, David will talk about it, but it's really heavy. So I'll have to really do a good job putting it up. Anyway, I got talking to David. David's wife, Anna, recently passed. And as we were discussing things, David goes, I've got this really nice frame portrait of John Blair that has some provenance to the town, and I'd like to donate it to Blairstown. I go, that's great. We will find a nice spot either in the meeting room or in the front foyer. It might actually go, I want to put it on a wood panel, so maybe in the front foyer, or maybe in the inner foyer. But it's going to find a good sturdy spot, but we'll take care of that. Don't worry about that. But having said that, David,
Yes.
tell a little bit of the history about the.
Well, it all started probably about 20 years ago, when Donnie Ackerson came to the hardware store that we had in Blairstown and said, I have a frame here you might be interested in, and if you give me the money, I'll give that to the school, or not the school, but the library in town. And we made a deal, and the money went to the library. I got this frame. However, it had been badly burned in a fire. So the first place I was thinking about was Blair Academy. The fire was at Blair. Blair owned the property where the fire was and everything. And then I got to thinking, well, if they didn't want it, then why should I give it to them now? It didn't make sense. And sometimes I do retain some. But, so I thought about it, and Donnie Ackerson passed away, and my wife passed away. Donnie's wife is now in a nursing home, and I'm the only one left that can make a decision on this. So I've decided that my wife and I should give this to the town, because I think they deserve more than what they had. And I'm a graduate of that academy, so I'm not going
So you really get to say that.
Pardon?
You get to say that. You have the credibility to say that. Okay.
Mhm. But I think that it looks better in person.
Thank you, Mr. Shannon.
Thank you.
It's very much, really, it is. It's very kind of you to do that.
It's going to get a nice spot here, David. It's always going to hang here. We're going to have a little plaque underneath it. Probably going to hang from the back of it with the information that you gave us to mention the Ackersons and you and Anna, of course.
Yeah, because I didn't think much of that 5x8 frame. bring your head up there before.
No.
I don't remember that.
You can barely see it from here,
Uh-huh.
let alone back there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find a stud to put this one in. That is,
The stud is
That-
right there next to you.
that's,
You did not just do that.
I set you up for that. You owe me $5,
That was
okay?
good, that was good.
Before David leaves, I would point out, David's father's on the plaque of former mayors out in the foyer. And his father was also a former freeholder, now known as commissioners, county commissioners. And was a big political boss for the Democratic Party in Warren County for a long time. Your dad?
You're,
Yeah, okay.
thank you.
I think you knew that. I'm pretty sure you did.
Yeah, I know that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
The stud comment is only because that thing has to weigh 70 pounds. That is a very heavy thing. Oh, boy. All right. Who's next? A show of hands. Anyone else for public comment but outside of our agenda items?
Okay.
We're good?
Let's roll,
Okay.
let's roll. Let's roll, Mayor.
Let's get into this. Department head reports for the month of February. We're going to probably cover these in our sessions at the end, our liaison reports. We have Animal Control Officer, Blairstown Fire Department Hose Company, number 1. Department of Public Works, Police Department, Tax Collector, Township Clerk, vacant and abandoned property. Do we have a motion to accept these department head reports?
So, second, Mayor.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Couple meeting minutes to approve. January 25th, 2023, our executive session. January 25th, 2023, our public session. Any discussion on these?
It looks pretty accurate to me.
Motion for adoption.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All
Abstain.
opposed? Abstain, and one abstain. And, all right, there we go. Okay, into the fun stuff, ordinances. This is our adoption, public hearing of 2023-04, an ordinance to amend Chapter 35, Police Department of the Code of Township of Blairstown. Charlie, you want to just give a little high level?
Yeah, all this does is it changes the verbiage of when the officers that work outside special interests, whether it be, at network or whatever, for those specific duties, if they don't receive enough notice to cancel their tour of duty, the amount of pay. So that's all it really relates to, whether it's 2 or 4 hours notice. No other changes to anything that would affect the town.
Okay.
I always have something to
Yeah,
add, Mayor.
no, that's fine.
We found out today, we had a finance subcommittee meeting, and I was curious, and I really didn't know how much money that the officers working outside of their department hours bring into the town coffers, and it was $10,000, just about $10,000 in 2022. It's we're already up to $3,000 or $4,000 this year. So that money comes back in. It doesn't go directly back to the police department, but it comes in. It's to help offset the cost of them, with the patrol cars and things like that. But so it's not, it's not at our expense really, at the town expense that they're doing the road duty. Works out well for both them and the town, and the entity that needs them. Well, not so much maybe, but I know Planet Network welcomes that added expense with open arms.
Okay. Well, this is our adoption and public hearing. I'll open it up to the public now. Do we have any public comments on ordinance 2023-04? Seeing none, I will close the public comment section. Oh, we have one. You have to come up here and grab the mic. Because now we're on YouTube, so we want people to be able to hear you at home. Give us your name and your address, please.
My name is Nancy Drexler, and I live at 22 State Route 94, Blairstown. I don't know if this is a comment. I am very confused about this new ordinance. I've been hearing from various people. Could you explain exactly what this means and how it will affect or the role that property owners who own rental property?
That's the next one.
You're up here one ordinance too early.
Stay
right there.
Stay right there. Stay right there.
Because I think this one's gonna go,
We'll finish
we're
this
gonna
up.
breeze right through this.
I was afraid I would chicken out coming up here, so.
No, never chicken out. We love when people talk.
Stay there, stay there.
So just stay right there.
You're definitely next.
Okay.
Do you need a motion for adoption on second reading, Mayor?
We did,
A motion?
Well, I'll second it then.
okay, can we have a roll call, please, Kristen, for 2023-04?
Mrs. Lance? Aye. Mr. McAtora?
Yes.
Mr. Orcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron?
Yes.
Mayor Moorhead?
Yes. Okay, now 2023-05, an ordinance establishing a new chapter 151 of the Code of the Township of Blairstown entitled Registration of Rental Properties and Businesses. I'm just going to go right to you because you got up and walked up here. Give us your question and then we can discuss it.
It was just hearsay. I've had numerous phone calls alerting me that I don't even understand. I've had numerous opinions on this, numerous interpretations. If you could please explain exactly what is expected of us. My understanding is that this has to do with lead paint.
There is a lead paint component to it, yeah. Are you a homeowner? Do you rent?
No, I'm a homeowner.
Okay.
My home is a duplex.
You have a rental property?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
half of it. I live on one side
Right.
for 22 years.
Okay.
My tenant is long-term.
How old is your home? What year was it built?
I have traced it back to 1825.
All right.
That's not the answer we want, but that's okay.
I was hoping you were going to say 1983, but you know. So a house like yours obviously has seen many generations of paints, and yes, there's
Absolutely.
somewhere
That's
underneath all that paint is lead paint.
fascinating
Maybe.
history.
Yeah,
People are in that.
it's probably safe to say it's in there somewhere, but we, you know.
Yeah, when I purchased the property in 2002, walls were ripped out. We pulled up horsehair, old electric wiring. Everything in my home, especially the rental side, has been totally updated.
Well, that's a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Yeah,
So
that's the good thing.
what am I supposed to do? That's what and hopefully there are other people here interested in answers to the same questions. Basically, I'm asking for clarification.
Okay.
Do you want me to give us an answer?
I would love for our attorney.
You have to speak in the mic, though.
Yeah.
Pull it right to you. Pull that thing right up there, Kevin. It doesn't bite.
Walter's going to come down there.
This is
Think of the mic.
I've been saying this for like 2 years now. Now all of a sudden Walter wants everyone to talk
All
about
right.
it.
Can you guys hear
I'm tired of
me?
hearing you talking to it, so that's fine.
Well, for the benefit of the public and if we may, basically, first of all, let me just say this ordinance did not initiate with this committee. You can thank your legislators in Trenton for the
understand.
requirement that we had to do this. There's really two components to the ordinance. One, there was always a traditional statute that's been around for years that required some basic landlord registration. Just you know, the name of the landlord, an address, an out-of-county address if they're out of county. That's just basic stuff. So we kind of took the old-fashioned registration statement and we've enhanced it with this ordinance to incorporate the lead paint inspection requirement. Again, this came from Trenton. Now, in your particular case, as the mayor asked you about age, because there are exceptions to the lead paint testing requirements. If the house 1970 or older, you're exempt. If you have a 3 or 4 family or up unit that's regulated by DCA, you're likely exempt. But in your case, with the 2 families with that age, you're not exempt, you would be covered. Basically, your tenant, you said the long-term tenant, so in your case, you would have until July of 2024. You don't have to do it for your own unit, but for the unit that you're renting, you would want to retain, and actually I can get a list to the committee and we can put it on the website, but there are many lead, they're actually getting quite a few now, lead paint inspectors. You want to call those as a landlord, and then they come in to the rental unit only, not your own home, and they would do a visual inspection. I think actually in Blairstown, you may have to do a swipe test. For whatever reason, they did that.
Dust test?
Yeah, and they did that based upon the amount of lead in children's, and what they came out, and I guess some testing that was done to schools. So I was rather surprised that Blairstown would be at a little bit elevated level, but they are. So you would just hire one of those inspectors. If it's been renovated and all the paint's been removed, hopefully you're fine. You get the lead safe certification, and you just file that with us. And that's really all there is to it. We didn't put any fees in our ordinance because we know that it's already going to be an expense to you guys as landlords. And that's really all there is to it. If for some reason an inspector determined that there was lead that was exposed, then you as a landlord could take steps to paint over it or remove it or what have you. But again, that's going to be under your control. We're trying to keep your property as most under your control as we can. There is an option, actually at some point it could become a requirement that if a landlord doesn't do it, we have to do it. But we really rather not be the police of this. We're just trying to get the word out there, get this ordinance on the books, and let you landlords kind of run with it. I would also point out, by the way, that if and when your tenants move, this certification is going to be required by any real estate agent that you use. That will try to list the property for rent for you, because again, it's going to be a requirement. So that's what's about very simply in that aspect. The second aspect of the ordinance is, again, coming from Trenton. They're requiring us as a township to ask every business in the town, and that includes all residential rental properties by definition from Trenton. We did not create this stuff. I just want to emphasize that because some guys frankly find it a bit silly.
I did read very briefly, just
Yeah.
so I would have some questions
But
or
the other
present
part,
them.
the other part of the ordinance is businesses now have to provide to the township a copy of their liability insurance policies, and there are certain limits. 250,000 in certain circumstances, and I believe it's 500,000 in others. So again, we built that into the ordinance. We created a very simple form. Again, no fee for this. And I guess my thought would frankly be we would put this on the website. If there are existing landlords that are registered with us, we would kind of just get the word out there and hopefully get voluntary compliance. Again, the state of New Jersey is insisting that we get a copy of your liability insurance. Not that we ever would get involved in a claim, because we wouldn't. So again, I find this particular legislation rather silly, but it's been thrust upon us, so we just did the ordinance to try to make sure that we're following the rules, and that when the Department of Community Affairs comes in here, doesn't drag Kristen out and ship her off to jail.
Kevin, who is it exactly, Kevin?
Oh, sorry.
Over here. Who is it exactly that's going to be monitoring this to make sure that everybody does it?
That's one of the problems. I mean, the Trenton, as they are wont to do, as you guys know, they come up with these great ideas, they throw them out there. There's no great answer to the enforcement issue. We obviously don't know every business in the town, especially small rental units of private property. It's just going to be impossible.
Right.
So, zoning officer, building inspector, if we come across something, again, Kristen probably has a handful of landlord registration statements already. We can kind of send them the updated forms. And as ma'am, I'm sure, as I said, you're hearing through the grapevine, so hopefully the word gets out. But it shouldn't, especially somebody like you who's kind of already updated, you know, your, that half of the rented duplex, it shouldn't be a big deal. Once you get that lead safe form, and I'm told the inspections are running around $300, $350 a piece. That's what I'm being told from, if you hire the inspector. Hopefully, he certifies the home, he gives you that form, you file it. That form's good for 2 years. So you wouldn't have to do anything further for, you know, and then every couple of years, you just have to re-update that.
Okay.
There is one fee in the, there's no fees that this township is collecting and keeping, but the state, again, is requiring us to be their basically fee collector. We have to require or collect a $20 fee every time you file that lead safe form, which is what basically every 2 years. We don't keep that. That goes down to a lead fund that they're creating down in Trenton, which they'll probably divert to something else anyway, knowing them. But that's what it's about. But it's not like the police, you know, or zoning officer, building inspector, nobody's going to be knocking down your door. You know, we're just, again, trying to adopt the ordinance, slowly work our way towards this, and, you know, work with our residents or businesses and renters.
Okay. Just if I can clarify, and I know you did answer, but I did look up the state ordinance, and I read it through a couple of times, and there was one section about homes built or put into rental units before 1978, and it said exempt. Now, you mentioned that too. If you could just clarify that point for me?
The exemption's actually after, it's actually, 1978 is the bright line. If your home was constructed from 1978 and later, you know, all the way up to the present, it's totally exempt, because basically lead came out of paints by that time. So
I've worked with children
Yeah.
for over 50 years before retiring.
If you got your CO in 1977 in December, unfortunately, you're days away from 78, and it may well be that the paint's not lead, but you would still be covered.
But it strictly only applies to rental properties.
Oh, yes, that's not your own side that you
Oh,
occupy.
no, I understand
I mean,
that.
unless you converted it at some point to a rental, but as long as you're there, fine. If you sell the property and let's say your buyer wishes to occupy both sides and convert it to a single, then again, those things don't apply. It's strictly to rental property owners.
Okay, so at this point, my role is to find a licensed lead paint certified person.
Yes, and I have that list. I will
It's
scan that.
online,
Yeah, there's
New Jersey
it is online as
Department of
well.
Health and Department
Yeah,
of
we could probably link
Community.
it to our
Yeah, once
website.
everything's adopted and
Yeah.
stuff, we'll put it in, it'll be in by next week with everything for our website, on our website.
So you
Okay.
find them, you contract directly with them by next June. And the responsibility is yours. It's not like, again, we're not policing it, but the responsibility is yours to get this done. If you don't do it, then you're on the hook with the
Well, that
state.
was one of the
Yeah.
things, that we took walls down.
That's a good thing. I
We
mean,
took
there's,
those-
yeah.
Yeah.
Down to
What year
the
was that?
steps. Pardon?
That was since 1978.
In 2002.
Yeah.
when we
How
bought
about
the
your
house.
window? How about your windows and your frames for your windows, things like that?
They are all, they're not wood,
Okay.
they're
No, that's,
whatever, I don't know
So-
what they are, those were free.
So chances are they're not going to find
an
it.
inspector will clearly see
They're
that.
not
They'll see how
gonna find it.
rehabbed, blah, blah, look at your building permit maybe back then and say,
And the form that the inspector will give you, that there's a specific form that the state's come up with. It's a simple form. Once you have that, you can just file that with Kristen and you're done. It's not, trying to keep it simple for you guys.
One last,
You're welcome.
Kevin, one last thing. What is
Yeah.
it that they have to do every 2 years?
Every 2 years, yeah.
Certification's only good for 2 years.
I mean,
So they have to hire somebody to come out again
Yeah.
2 years later?
the issue.
That's
I guess-
ridiculous.
Well, I
got a can of lead paint in the garage from 75, and I slap it up.
Yeah.
Why would that be?
There may be, and again, you can, when you hire your inspector, you talk to that.
Of course.
There may be an enhanced certification that you can get that there's zero lead. And once you have that, if we have that, then you may not have to do further
Yeah.
certifications. The state is tweaking that. The reason why the 2-year recert was, as I understand it, was if you do have a home that has lead, you don't necessarily have to remove it, you can encapsulate it. And in that instance, they want that every 2 years to make sure it's not chipping off, I guess.
Right.
So,
Fair,
but,
that makes
ma'am, if
sense.
you've like abated all, you know, if you have vinyl windows now,
Yes,
you've been down to the
that's
studs,
Senior glitch.
there may be an enhanced certification you can get that you're one and done. So that's something you can ask the inspector. I think the regs are kind of still being refined, but I think they're going to allow for that.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Yeah, this is one of those things that kind of came from Trenton quickly, and we tried to react as quickly as we could to it and enact this, so we're not behind the 8 ball on it. Good evening, Rosalie, come on up. Oh, yeah, is this about the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
You never know what Rosie's talking about.
Rosalie Murray, Color Hill Road. I just wanted to make a couple of quick comments, and I speak because for about 25 years, I was the landlord for 14 different rental properties, which were both residential and commercial. And I was also on the rent control board of the town. I thought it was an absolutely excellent ordinance. It was very well written, it's clear, and I especially like the fact that they've got in there that you have to track down the principles of the limited liability corporations. The principles hide behind the LLCs, and this ordinance says no more. And I remember working in this area, taking the census. I guess that was not the most recent, but the previous. And I went into some buildings that were not in good shape. And I think some of those people had no recourse really, or didn't even know that they could complain. And there were unsafe conditions that are still in existence today. So I just wanted to say, good job. Wish you the best. Who's going to be in charge of tracking all this stuff? The registration?
Statute kind of sets up the clerk, unfortunately, with another
It's
hat.
going to be a big job.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a great clerk.
Yes.
And we have full confidence in her
You
ability.
can tell by her facial expression that she accepts it.
There are also a lot of hidden rentals. I don't know whether you'll be able to.
I didn't hear that.
What?
There's a lot of what?
Hidden rentals.
Yes.
And I don't know.
She is not the resident, she is not the
I'm not
resident police.
policing it.
No, we will not have
No,
rental
I know,
fees, but
Just
we,
keep it
and you know from your experience, we have a lot of absentee landlords that
Exactly.
don't even come to town to see their properties. So the legislation will help with that. It'll make people actually pay attention
Right.
to the conditions
Yeah,
that they're.
well, it will be a big job, and I know I raised a specter of evaluations of the properties in town. I know that should be done periodically, and while looking for a home for my granddaughter, when she was thinking of living in this area, I was on the computer constantly searching in Blairstown and surrounding areas. And I found that the taxes for different properties were way out of whack. There were some new properties, you know, with 3 or 4 bathrooms.
Let's not get off the rails too much here, Rosie. Let's not get off the rails too much. We're talking about the lead paint.
But while we're on the subject of, rentals, I know you might not want to do the reevaluation, but I think if you are worried about your taxes, you might want to consider it.
That's another whole discussion that we are
Thank
well
you.
versed on.
But it needs to be done.
Okay, do we have, come on up. You could aim that microphone at you when you sit.
Yeah, where do you go, sir? There you go.
Good evening. Otto Clint, 4345 High Street.
Good evening.
I have a rental property. I have not used it as a rental property in the last 10 years. I have families be using the whole houses for the family. Does this law still apply to us as far as?
No, if you don't have a current renter in there, it doesn't apply unless and until you reactivate it as a rental unit.
All right. That was my question.
There you go.
That was easy.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question. Is it
You have to be on the
You're gonna
mic.
come up here, Bob, you know the rules,
They
Bob.
can't hear me?
No, we want you on YouTube.
Okay, hi guys.
As if you don't get enough camera time.
Bob Halverson, I'm on the first day squad. So far, I've been on the squad for 30 years. We have known that they show progress. But my question is, Attorney, is it interior and exterior lead or just interior?
Interior, yeah.
That was it, okay.
There you go.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Come on now.
Jeanette Mixa, Ironado, 80 Carver Street. I have not read the proposed ordinance, so I'm just looking for clarification from you, Kevin. At previous meetings, you had said, and I don't know if this is part of this ordinance or not, that there may be a fee, a registration fee, whether it was one time or every time a tenant changed for residents or businesses. You guys have floated around a number, like you said, oh, we could do
There's
100.
no fees in the ordinance.
No fees.
The only, as I
That's
indicated,
why I
There's a $20 fee that goes to the
the only fee is there's no fees to the township.
Okay,
The only fee is that we're mandated to collect is $20,
okay.
and that's with each lead safe certification, which, again, once you do that, unless you're lucky enough to get a no lead at all type of a cert, if you get one that says, well, it's okay, but it's there, then every 2 years you would submit the form with $20. We're not charging anything. The $20 goes to Trenton for a new fund to create.
Yep, I just remember you guys floating around ideas.
Yeah, no, I think the committee.
Once we realize
Once they
that the
realize-
money just goes to Trenton anyway, we're not.
Yeah, we-
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Trenton has enough of our money.
Trenton takes. We don't make any more. Who else? Anyone else for this, before we move to adopt?
We're almost thinking about it, Haitians.
No, he's got a cramp in his
I
leg.
think the answer to the question is
Okay.
inside, not outside.
Not outside, it's inside only.
Okay, yeah. All right then. Then we have a,
One more thing I want to say, you said that Trenton wants $20. Why does he want $20?
They're creating a new fund.
What are they doing? What are they doing?
The fund, I think, is supposed to help offset lead abatement in schools, lead pipes in public water systems. I don't know what they're gonna do with it, you know, I don't really know what they do with the money down there, but.
That doesn't make any sense.
They don't know either.
no, they spend it. They
Yeah,
spend
they'll
it.
spend it somehow, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Carry on. please.
Guaranteed. I'll guarantee you they'll spend it. All right, so can we have a motion to adopt 2023-05?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please, Kristen.
Mrs. Lance? Yes. Mr. McAtora?
Yes.
Mr. Orcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron? Yes. Mayor Moorhead?
Yes. All right, we have an introduction of another ordinance, 2023-06, calendar year 2023 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank. We do this each
We
and
have to
every
do
year.
this every year before we introduce the budget.
Do we have any discussion on it or a motion to accept?
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is that for homeowners and for anybody in the audience, if you don't know what a cap is, basically, we have the setup where there's within cap and outside of cap, which is what we're allowed to spend that's within the budget, and then what we have that's for a rainy day. I don't know how else to put that. There's a good explanation basically on the League of Municipalities website. I wish I had copied down and brought it to read to you, but basically what happens is that we're only able to increase it, and it's usually 2% this year, it's 2.5%, to increase the budget by just that much. It's a good thing in a way because it's Trenton's, you can say overreach if you want to, but it's Trenton's way of saying, look, we want to keep it affordable in New Jersey. First, they manipulate things by what aid they give back to us or don't, and what they increase or decrease. And so there are other things that affect that. But the point is, this year it's 2.5% We have the opportunity to increase that by 1% to 3.5%, but we've chosen not to do that. 2.5% is plenty. We will be introducing the budget. We'll be talking about that as well. I guess the main thing is that 2.5% is plenty. She said no.
Yeah, she someone gave us to me.
Okay, so we reserve the right to go up that extra
We're
percentage.
not doing it, but that's where we can have it.
Yeah.
The bank, I should say.
So then if we do that, then we can actually, if we don't increase it every year, then we can't increase it the next year. I thought she said it was only over 2.5%.
She said,
Okay. So, okay, we are increasing it by 3.5%. Does that mean that the taxes are going up by 3.5%? No, it does not. It means that our ability to spend from our savings side to our checking side, let's call it that. Would you say that's a good characterization, Joanne?
Yeah, if you don't put it at the 3.5%, you're guided next year.
Right, so then what happens is that next year, if we only keep it at the bottom, then we have a harder time with it. So we did actually go over that today. So I'm actually surprised to see that. But, yeah. So at any rate, what we're banking is that other 1%. So that's really all there is there.
Okay. Do we have a motion to introduce 2023-06?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mr. McAtora?
Yes.
Mr. Orcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron?
Yes.
Mayor Moorhead?
Yes. Up to our budget introduction, we had a public budget meeting. Was that last week? These weeks are rolling by. Yeah, I can't believe it's spring already, but I can't believe it's budget season already. Our finance committee, would you like to give a little overview on our budget this year? It's been pretty much the same as last year, I think. Would you say?
So the good news is that it's a flat budget, it's not going up. Some other news that we can say is that we're able to keep our existing services without cutting anything. We're able to make payments of all of our debt service. We're able to support all of our emergency services in town, DPW as well. Paying, I don't know, $645,000 as far as debt service. I think that was in here. We started to look at what is the impact on an individual homeowner. The average homeowner value in Blairstown was set at $275,000. It may be higher than that now, but I actually have a chart for that. So let's look at $275,000. Anybody who complains that their taxes are high in Blairstown doesn't live someplace else where it's a lot worse. I'll say that. In any given municipality, the collector and the town have to collect not only for the town's share of it, but also for the different school districts, the library, the county, and everything else. So it's sort of hidden in a way. But for an average a house for a value of $275,000, the local tax on that is only $687, right? So when you think about what you get for that $687,000, you get roads that are being well maintained. You get the ability to, if you need a building permit, if you need anything that takes care of, the town takes care of as far as plowing. There are parks available to you. There are many different outlets for your kids to do fun things, recreation department, you can pick anything. But what keeps the value of a home in a town is a town that has services and that provides them in an efficient way. I think $687 in a whole year is not a lot of money.
Let me
$50 a month, you know?
Yeah, $50, $60 a month. But let me, Karen, miss one major point that I'll point out. Well, one, I was going to be. No, the police department. We collect, the Blairstown budget is roughly $3.6 million. $2 million of that goes to the police department. So most of your money is going right to the police. A good chunk of that money is going, and that's a good value. It's we're the lowest tax rate of any town in Warren, Sussex, or Hunterdon County that has a police department. We're like the third lowest in Warren County, behind White Township, which has a landfill in its backyard, and Harmony, which has a good rateable on Merrill Creek. And we do a real good job in protecting the money. Now, we also, as Karen mentioned, we also have a very aggressive road overlay program, capital program. We're spending in excess of $1 million this year. We spent pretty close to that, or maybe just a hair over that last year. Previous committees had not expended the funds necessary to maintain the roads in their proper condition, so we've had to really play some catch up these last couple of years. Thank you. Karen and I met as the finance subcommittee. We've met a few times, more than a few times, with our chief financial officer, and have gone over the finer details of the budget. Last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago, we had our budget presentation with our CFO was here and our auditor were here. That is on YouTube in its entirety. It's a really good meeting. It talks about all of our spending and our options in the future. And a lot of the members of this committee, particularly, well, I'm not going to say who, but most of us are looking at the future very closely to see how we're going to maintain the promise that we made to keep our local tax rate at 25 cents for the next 4 years, which we will, by the way. But we have to plan for the future constantly and consider how we're going to move forward by trying to maintain the same level of services. And we are kind of somewhat stymied in being able to hire any new personnel inside the budget caps. So it's not an easy task to do this budget, but I can tell you a lot of work went into it, and we've got the best interest of the taxpayers in mind, trust me. Said the politician.
I'm sorry, is there an election here? Wait a minute.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
Okay, in talking about this budget, I sat down with Christine because obviously I missed that last meeting. And one of the issues I think we talked about was the tax rate for the schools, that the schools going to see an increase in their taxes, so which is going to affect everybody in the room actually. It's a very small increase in terms of the percentages compared to our tax increase, but on the average house of $350,000, it's going to be about $238 per household. So that's something to keep in mind.
$288.
$238,000 on an average home of $350,000. That's the percentage that it's going to be.
Say that again, that didn't make sense.
$238 on a
$207.
$238.
It's $238,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a big tax.
$238 on a house of $350,000.
So the increase will be $238 for the
correct.
regional high school or for the elementary?
For the schools, period.
For both schools?
Both schools. It's not just the schools, actually. I believe it's your municipal, your local county tax and your school tax. That's the increase. That's what the county is passing on to us.
So not all of those budgets are finalized yet.
No.
But I did spend some time, and I'll talk about it in my portion of the meeting later, looking at the grammar school budget, the elementary school budget, and they really are facing a lot of cuts, and they're going to have a hard time. But we don't control that, right? So the part that we do control, sitting here on this board, is flat, and it's again, providing good services for what it is and not terribly expensive. Hard to say that to somebody who's on a fixed income or lower income, but the point is there are services that do need to be provided, and we've got to be able to provide them for everybody. So to do that efficiently, I mean, that's our goal. That's what we've done.
The one thing I didn't get an answer to, maybe Karen and Walter would know this. When properties are tax exempt, do they come off the valuation tax? Do you know?
They come off the what?
The valuation taxable rate, the valuation tax rate. When the properties are exempt, there's a valuation tax rate. It's okay, I can ask.
See, okay, I'll just tell you from my own experience.
Yeah.
They're not part of the levy, nothing's collected for them, so
Okay.
they're not.
Okay.
It's a good summation because, as I said before, not a lot has changed from last year, and pretty proud that we can say that we're not going to raise that municipal tax this year, the next three. Okay, so can we have a motion to introduce our municipal budget?
I would move that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Can we have a roll call, Kristen?
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mr. McAtora?
Yes.
Mr. Orcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron?
Yes.
Mayor Moorhead?
Yes. On to our consent agenda. We got 8 items. I'll read through them and we can talk about anything of great interest. 2023-42, authorizing the DPW to remove an existing shed at the former Jones Farm. And I'm sure Walter will talk a little bit about the Jones Farm coming up later on.
Unless you want to talk about it now.
You want to talk about it right now? Things
It's
are
on the
progressing.
consent agenda. So we jointly maintain the property with the state on Jones Farm. We're in year 19 of a 20-year agreement. And one of the things the state harps about over the years, they keep harping about, is removing the barns. And this is the first step to doing that. When we did the intense mowing around the property, and cut down all the brush and trees and everything, it's evident that the front building, which is a separate standalone building, is in terrible condition. The roof is caving in and it's unsafe. The DPW feels comfortable in removing that themselves. They'll fool around with a backhoe and do everything, and be able to remove the concrete blocks, which they're going to recycle, by the way. And that way we will have the first step in taking some of the barns down at Jones Farm, and we'll come up with a long-range plan to talk to the state about removing any more of the property, more of the barns from the property. However, I will point out that next year the contract is up, and we may be in a position to more readily negotiate that contract in our favor, as opposed to what happened 20 years ago.
Okay. Then we move on to 2023-43, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement between Blairstown Township and Celebration Fireworks, Inc. in support of our fireworks display for the 4th of July, which will be on the 3rd of July, right? 2023-44, redemption of certificate of sale, that is for property on Frontage Road.
Yes. 2 frontage.
2 Frontage Road. 2023-45, which is acceptance of a bid that is for the electrical work for our soon-to-be digital sign out front by the road. We had a sealed bid, and the responsive bidder was Wires Electrical of Hackettstown. So one step closer to the sign. 2023-46, self-examination budget resolution, pretty much thing we
Have to do that before we adopt the budget.
Yep, need to do that each and every year. 2023-47, resolution authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute the proposal for the water treatment upgrades. So this is for our old well, which resides on East Chrisman Road. It is in sad shape, I will admit. It was one of those issues where, it being the only well for many years and it serving the entire downtown area of Blairstown, it couldn't be taken out of service for anything. It had to run. And now we're required to have a backup well, so now that we have a new well that sits right next to our firehouse, it's now time to do the repairs that are much needed on that original, it's not the original well, but that old well that we ran on for so many years. And the upgrades are numerous to get us even into compliance with the EPA and everybody else who's looking at that thing. So we do have. Is this for the engineering?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is for the engineering costs, and this will get the ball rolling.
This money, Mayor, comes out of our federal grant.
Yep. This will be from, this will
Not
be
tax
from-
money, this is
no.
federal grant money.
It's one of the first things that they said when they did the American Rescue Fund, is one of the first items that we could use. Yeah, infrastructure and water, municipal water supply. So as soon as we heard that, we said, oh, good, we don't have to use tax money to get that well where it should be. The water treatment system, the well itself is pumping fine, but the water treatment system, the filtration system, has to all be replaced. So the
water filtration system is literally 30 years old.
Yeah.
That plant was built in around 92, 93.
The folks that put it in they won't service it anymore. They don't want to touch it. So that is for the, that's for the engineering fees. 2023-48, 2022 tonnage grant application, which we do each and every year. 2023-49, resolution approving vouchers and claims. Any discussion on any of the items from the consent agenda? Do we have a motion to approve the March 23rd, 2023 consent agenda?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
All right, roll call, please, Kristen.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mr. McAtora?
Yes.
Mr. Orcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron?
Yes.
Mayor Moorhead?
Yes. On to some unfinished business. Do we have anything? Really?
Right.
We are finishing everything.
I have nothing that carried over.
Can you just highlight for me real quick the tank, the water tank, what's gonna?
It's on discussion for under new business with
Yeah.
a proposal.
Okay.
It's expensive.
Yeah. Is any of it covered by the grant?
I don't know how much we'll have left over after we do the well. Yeah, that's the problem. So I don't really want to get into any of that and say yes to anything until we get that well brandy new.
Any of the engineering costs covered by the grant?
We might have some left over.
Okay.
It would be nice to get the engineering done, but then to replace the tank. There's some state, there's some federal funding that could come into play, but I think we need to get through the engineering part of it first. Yeah, so I'm just trying to put out fires, the hottest fires first, and we're required to have a backup well. Now that we have one good functioning one, we have to have a backup. And in reality, because Blair Academy is about 50% of our water consumption for our municipal water supply. When they're in session and they have great water needs, our new well has a very hard time keeping up. The old well, when it senses, they talk to one another, when it senses that new well needs help, the other one will come on and it will supplement the newer well. So we do need that backup well for, just running on a daily basis. And the storage tank on the Blair Academy property, we had a conversation with Jim Frick about that too. And we'll get into that a little bit. Resignation of our COA director, Teresa Tamburo.
I'd like to have discussion on that, please.
Sure, let's.
Okay, I spoke to Teresa today, and did some highlights with her with regard to what our expectations are with regard to her resignation. And one of the concerns, obviously, is continuity and where the funds go. We have 10 units we're obligated to. We have a group home that we're obligated to. And we have a resolution that was adopted in, I believe it was in 2008, she said. And that resolution was to allocate $125,000 to a group home, should they come to us and say that they want to do this. We currently have 2 units that are not being occupied, as you're aware of, right? And so she's saying, that is still a concern. We're going to have to find someone to find 2 more units to allow us to be in compliance with that obligation. Okay, so there was a few things that she made notes of, and she said she would send them to me. it's very sad because with the loss of people that have been here for a long time, you lose the continuity, you lose the information. And some of these things, like the ordinance that she's referring to, are not something that was even brought up or discussed. I know that she has talked to you about it. She's told me that she has. But she's, we should be concerned. We don't want the money leaving. I would like to see it stay in the house. I would like to see a record of sorts that comes out like quarterly or yearly, annually, to say how much money is in that account and how we're meeting those obligations.
Last I checked with our CFO, I think in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund account, there was something less than 16,000. It was not a lot. It's been,
I agree.
What basically, and by the way, I'm just indicating, I've been here for several different tenures, and my dad before me, and Teresa was here for a long time, and she did do a great job. Absolutely did a great job for you guys, and just wanted to indicate that on the record. I really enjoyed working with her, and at this point, we don't really have the money to do any more market to affordables, but she did a wonderful job doing, and that's the units you referenced.
Yep.
The two that are unoccupied aren't anything to do with Teresa. It's the old Udell building that's just falling apart. And I've sent you guys some information about that. But she did a wonderful job, and she'll be missed. And
we just have to keep.
Yeah,
we have 2 more years. I mean, the understanding. My understanding is there's 2 more years for us to be compliant. And if that's the case, who is it that's going to have oversight on that? So this next 2 years if Teresa leaves.
Well, I guess we don't really have to get into on Teresa's resignation, but we really actually moved to dismiss the litigation and kind of let it go its own way, because we really don't have the funds, and you're really not getting, that fund was not taxpayer generated revenue. It was fees off of construction.
Correct.
Mostly, there really hasn't been a lot, and that's why the fund has kind of dropped. So unless and until we get a large commercial project, statutory 2.5%.
Right.
If we get that fund comes back up, we can do something. So we'll do it that way. But so definitely be missed.
Okay.
All right, so we accept her resignation.
Yes, we do.
Okay. 2023 election polling places.
That's.
Thanks.
So I put that on the agenda because for the last 2 years, the school was our polling place for District 3 and 4. Unfortunately, the school is not going to be able to hold our elections anymore at their school, so it is going back to the free and eligible, I can't say that word, church. Thank you. The one right next to the school. So effective June, it's going back to the church.
Okay.
Just wanted to let everybody know that there's going to be a change again.
And would that just be again for
District 4? Yes, District 3 and 4. I was hoping that the school would stay on board because I was kind of hoping we could bring all the districts there with the upcoming presidential election, but it's just, unfortunately, now they need to use that space. So it's just not possible for them to do it. So when you go to vote in District 3 and 4, you will be going to the church. It's the only other place we can do it.
A good separation of church and state.
All right, let's see. Memorial Day Parade, we have our application for facility use for Footbridge Park. This is pretty much one of the biggest events Blairstown has. Certainly our only parade, so that is on, is it date? Is there a date on this application?
It's May 29th.
May, is it 28th or 29th?
I'm sorry, 28th.
Yeah, okay.
Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. So of course it's going to be sunny that day. It has to be, it says right here. And should we approve that application for facility use? Any questions? Anyone not want to attend? If you don't want to attend, you're un-American.
Motion for approval.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We're going to have Memorial Day. sample ordinance required by the New Jersey Department of Health. This, the Tier A model
Oh,
ordinance.
this is the
This is
DEP
the-
ordinances.
Yeah, the DEP.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Oh, this,
yeah, some of these are, there's at least one that's optional, but.
this is like the
Yeah.
litter and all that?
Yeah, and can't feed the geese in the parks.
Okay, yeah, there's two. There's the littering.
There's several.
There's 8.
Well,
There's
the two that,
There's salt, there's wildlife, there's littering, there's several, some of which, by the way, you have a littering ordinance on the book, so we can, I'm gonna take what the engineer sent me, he just sent me the models at the
Right.
DEP, and I'll get them together. We don't have to adopt these till the end of the year, so I'll get these to you at a future meeting well in advance, and we can certainly.
don't feed the wildlife on a public
Don't feed
piece
the
of
geese.
land.
Don't feed the geese.
Bring that to the October meeting, and then we'll do first reading October, second reading in November.
There you go.
If there's any problems, we'll still get it done by this year.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
All right. What else should we got here? And our water tank proposal, which it's, as I said, I'd really like to get that well. You know, us going with that and repairing that and getting it to where it ought to be. The water tank, we had an inspection of it by a very reputable firm back in 2014. They didn't find anything that looked like catastrophic failure could happen. It was just, they gave us a list of upgrades we could do to the tank. Looking at that list now and accounting for inflation from 2014 to now, the cost of a replacement would probably be about the same as trying to repair our tank that was installed in 1911. That's yeah, it's turn of the century equipment that we're still using, but they made steel a lot thicker and a lot better back then. It was.
I wonder about the rivets and the locomotive quality.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at this tank, it's up on it's on the Blair Academy campus, and if you walk up to the bridge that goes by Blair Lake there, where the falls, you can see the tank. It's a remarkable thing. It really does looks like a piece of a locomotive, because it is from when locomotives were steam run. It's nice to look at, but eventually we are going to have to, because of the lining and whatnot, we're going to have to move to a glass-lined modern tank, and it will that will serve us for the next, probably 50 years. I don't know if the new stuff lasts as long as the old stuff. I don't make any claims, but I'll certainly say 50
Stainless
years.
steel, that's the best.
We love stainless steel. So the engineering fees alone on that, do we have that? 180,000 just for engineering fees alone. That's just to get us up and running to the site plan and all of the approvals and permitting, and there's a lot of that. A lot of those it's not engineering fees, a lot of that is permitting fees. And some of the permits that you have to get for things like this are astronomical. And I'm sure Rob knows a lot about permitting fees. It really runs into the tens and 20s and 30s, thousands of dollars. So we have to get past that, and we have to figure out how we can find the funds for replacing that tower, which would probably run close to $1 million. It's a big project. We sat with Jim Frick from Blair Academy last week before, it's all 2 weeks ago. And we talked to him about it. Where the tank sits now, it's on a little knoll, and we're not even sure what they would need, the requirement. They'd need to build the tank right next to the existing tank. They just put a tank up, Mazer, who's doing our engineering for the well, they just did a tank for Panther Valley. Yeah, and I think that ran them
Just under $1 million, 900-some-thousand.
Yeah. And it's not this, I think it's a larger tank than we would require, right? I think ours right now is 110,000 gallons, something like that. But So we really have to work on, there's a lot of different programs that if we are eligible, and some we would be eligible because of our, the number of customers that our water supply serves. We have fewer than 500 customers, so that does make us eligible for these small municipality, not grants, but loans that would be forgiven. And we still need to do a lot of brainstorming over that.
I see the way you're looking, shaking your head. It was confusing. We spent a considerable amount of time with the engineer, and actually he brought one of the staff members on a conference call where they explained the different grants and funding, and we were shaking our heads at the end too, but it sounded very promising.
They have loans for different sized towns, and for a small municipality, a small municipal water supply, we might be eligible for 50% forgiveness on a loan, and there's a lot of different variables, and we really need to get that well up and running and functional.
So to clarify, Mayor, I think I hear you saying, we had gotten a price, it was back in 2014, it was around $475,000 to clean and reline, epoxy paint, whatever they do, clean and reline the existing well. Owing for inflation and 10 years down the road, maybe you're using a number of 600,000, for example.
Probably, yeah.
So, however, between the 600,000 and the million, the 600,000 isn't really eligible for loan forgiveness like the new tank would be. If we elected to do the...
Oh, no.
If we elected to just refurbish the current tank.
What the state wants to see is a new water system. They want something that they know does not have any sort of lead in it. I mean, nothing that's been around since 1911. They want to see a modern, safe water drinking water system. So, yeah, they do give a lot of money for those sort of things. So. I don't want to start getting into engineering fees when we still don't know where our capital would come from for that. So.
But this would be borne by the users of the water company. This would come out of the water.
Yeah, we don't have that big of a question. We don't have that many customers, unfortunately. We have 150.
Well, no, but we'd have to raise the rates or do something to help offset that. I would liken this to sewers, for example. We were not doing something in the downtown that everyone in town would have to pay for. I'm pretty sure that's how this works.
Right.
This would be paid for, the cost would be borne by the users in the village and Blair County.
So only the people in the village then go to those restaurants? No one else in the town goes to those restaurants?
You're just going to shout out?
Just thinking outside the box.
Well, the COVID money. I was just going to say, COVID money, I think that's important.
That money is going to be eaten up by that well.
That would be eaten up by the engineering alone.
By that well, the revamping that well, the equipment in that is, the engineers went in and took a look and called me back and said, you have a really good roof, good walls, good foundation. Everything in there is so old and so out of date and out of code and out of compliance. You really need everything new in there. It's going to be, and our electrical in there is also really substandard. So the interior of that well is going to cost, and I do think it's going to...
The tank?
No, our well at East Chrisman, I think it's going to pretty much deplete our recovery fund.
So I actually took a tour of that building this morning. And I had been in the building once before, about 15 years ago. And Eric Dusenowicz was able to point out to me the path of water as it comes in, what treatment tank it goes into first, where it goes next, what process is done, what chemicals are used. It was a very enlightening tour. When we started to look at the things that are going well there's not a lot. There's not a lot. There are, it's not a lot. But there are a lot of different portions of it that would remain, the footprint would remain. There are 3 treatment tanks that would remain are in excellent condition. the fact that the control for both wells remains in that building makes a lot of sense, because if you have to switch from well 1 to well 2, you don't have to run to the other building and whatever, nobody's without water in between. There are a lot of smart things that are going on in that building.
Well, right now, those controls don't even work, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gone too, it's.
So I want to say that you can talk about what needs to be fixed, but let's keep the little bit that's positive as far as the drinking water in Blairstown is safe, right?
Well, it's because it's all coming from the new well. And anyone who drinks and bathes in that water, the water supply to the Masonic Lodge, which I'm a member, it was night and day. When we went onto that new well and the iron levels dropped and the manganese levels dropped, all of a sudden our hot water heater didn't smell like sulfur anymore. It was wreaking havoc with the anodes and the hot water heaters, and that has all gone away. So we're pretty much off that other well. It only kicks in for very high demands, but we need to know that well will be as clean and as sustainable as our brand new well. And yeah, there's the big stainless steel tanks are one of the only things we can keep. We've done a really, I mean, and Albert Schwartz, our water guy, I'm not sure what title. Yeah, I mean, we retained him. He's no longer with DPW, but he's still our water operator of record. He's done a great job over the years of really being the mad scientist in there to kind of patch stuff up, patch up leaks, and he's done a great job. But it really is time, because we're now under the scrutiny of authorities higher than us. And I think that's really should be our main focus, is getting the drinking water to where both wells can supply the same quality of water. So we should, I think once that's underway, I think we should then start the discussion. I don't want to just kick the can down the road with the tank.
That's dangerous.
We've done that a long time. We did that with a lot of things. We did that with our new well. It took us years and years to get that new well finished. I think with Mazer Engineering, I think we have, they're out in front of this already. They're handing me stuff like, whoa, I gotcha. But they're really good with that, and we will get stuff done with them. But we really need to know where the funds will come from before we start anything like that. Correspondence, do we have any correspondence?
No, sir.
Excellent. From the Township Attorney, Kevin, what do you got?
We did the ordinances tonight. I circulated a written report to you guys, just giving you some updates on the court, which is really no update. I haven't heard back on that discussion.
What?
I don't know. But,
like a whole month.
I'm not going to chase them.
I know, but they just won't give us an answer.
Yeah, I guess not. We're basically a couple $100 apart, but it is what it is. The Jones property we spoke about. I did, after our last little meeting, I did track down the deeds. I sent a letter to the gentleman who's using the old access way to get to the property instead of the new 50-foot wide easement, just kind of alerting him to the fact that that's not really what he's supposed to utilize. I didn't give him any deadlines or anything. You guys can authorize that, first of all, and secondly, I figured he might want to come here and talk to us at some point.
There's been no response to it?
It just went out,
okay.
So I would say hopefully the next week or so, and then we can maybe get him on an agenda. If you guys want to give him a limited license or something, that's fine. This was also an issue, as Mayor Orcott mentioned, since we're co-owners, this is one of the things that the DEP keeps hounding us about, is the fact that this property is using that driftway. So the letter is out there. If they complain, we can at least tell them that we're doing something about it. The dog facilities we talked about, that ordinance is under review. The lead paint we adopted. I also gave you guys an update on the Udell property that is in tax foreclosure. Actually, it's not foreclosure yet. The certificate's been issued. Those are the 2 units that you referenced, Debbie, that are basically vacant. I'm assuming, and that's one thing I do want to coordinate with Teresa to make sure I get all her records back, because she should have all the recorded.
She does.
Notes
She does. She
and
has them. They're online. The ordinances are here.
I need the notes and the mortgages is really what I want to get. And so I'll coordinate with Teresa on that, but, at some point, whoever, it's a third-party tax lien, it's not ours. Somebody will foreclose that, and somebody's going to end up owning that property.
Not true.
Theoretically, that tax foreclosure will be superior to our mortgage for the COA funds. But at the same time, the restrictions run with the land. So as I indicated in my memo to you guys, at some point, whoever ends up with it comes in for site plan approval. That will be the trigger where we can negotiate and discuss what you guys want to do with those units.
And this is the red building?
Yes.
Don't you own that building? Do you own that building?
Yeah.
You still own that building?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Would you like me to say something? I
Well,
can.
I don't know, yeah, that's whatever you like, sure.
I just, hey, we'll just work things out in real time.
Yeah.
And I 8 Carhart Street. So the building which is located at 50 Route 94, which is the ugly red eyed store in the Kendall Bridge.
I call it the old Udell buildings.
It is, and I call it the same thing, but for those in the audience who don't know it by address, it's the ugly red bridge. It is owned by an LLC. I am 50% stakeholder of that LLC. The LLC itself is currently being dissolved, and my understanding through my divorce settlement agreement is that the tax lien will be satisfied within the next 3 months, and then the property will be listed for sale no later than September.
Yeah, that's great. I hope that's the case. I mean, I don't like to see anybody lose their property to a tax court.
No, there's been, I don't want to get into too much of my personal
Right.
stuff.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
when you have 2 people that own a property and they each
Right.
have a 50% stake, and then you want to, dissolve that partnership, whether it's business or personal, then it becomes a 2.5-year mediation on which party will buy out the other. And we've now agreed that neither would. So we're just going to dissolve the LLC, pay the tax lien. That was another issue with the tax lien, was which party wants to be responsible for paying it. We decided none. And then when it's sold, we pay off the tax lien.
So
We'll see both now.
whenever that process works its way through, and hopefully it does, and wish you good luck with that, at some point, those 2 units that are there, that's what we were using our Affordable Housing Trust Fund monies for. And this was before you owned it.
No, that was.
So what happened is, you would take a market rate rental unit that was just being, at market rate. A landlord can make application through Teresa, we would give them funds, in some cases, pretty significant funds, $50,000 or some of them.
$56,000 for both units.
So they would be able to use those monies to rehabilitate the units. In return, what we got out of that was affordable housing restrictions. So it was no longer a market rate unit. They could only charge affordable housing level rents. So again, so that's the only aspect where we would be involved at some point with some money.
Yeah, because Kevin, I'm sorry, 1 second. Kevin, the 10 units, 2 of these units are comprised of 10 units, and that responsibility is the 5 bonus points we got to negotiate down the suit, right? So, I mean, this all comes together as one for that.
Yeah, the nice thing is I put in my memo, ultimately, we control what happens there. So theoretically, I could see a scenario where the next user says, hey, look, residential isn't even appropriate for that site. We'd like to go in a different direction, commercial here, whatever. That's fine, but it would come back here because, again, the deed restriction is of record. And as part of relinquishing that, which we have the right to do, we would probably want that money repaid so that we could then go out and get 2 more units somewhere. So again, I wish you best of luck, and that's not a problem. Again, at some point, I just want to let you guys, because you had asked the question, I mean, what happens to those units?
Right.
Just want to let you know what was going on.
I will kindly remind Mr. Benbrook, though, that when I purchased that mortgage and then foreclosed on the individual who could not pay that mortgage, that's how I acquired that building. I bought the mortgage and foreclosed on it for not paying the mortgage. I did offer the $57,000 to the township to buy back the units, which I did not originally get the money for, and you said no.
No, we
Well,
don't do
not
that.
this person didn't say
He
that.
did, I have the email.
That's a village neighborhood district, that is not commercial.
All right.
And I did also, just the only thing I mentioned tonight is, I did reach out to Mrs. Davitt, the Conservator property. If anybody's interested, she definitely is a ready, willing, and able seller. So again, that's kind of the interest of the town. It's right there next to Footbridge. Joel's here. I know, and Joel knows, we did start down that road before, and it kind of got side railed because for whatever reason at the time, I think it really was more her attorney was recommending she not allow us to do any environmental.
Right.
I think we could overcome that hurdle at this time. So again, that's a decision. for the
So that
committee.
stipulation hasn't been taken off the table yet. She hasn't said she would or she wouldn't allow us to do.
She would.
She will now.
Right.
Okay, great,
Yeah.
great.
So if the committee's interested at some point, or through Joel or whatever, we could revive that, because if we're not interested, it sounds like she's gonna list it shortly anyway. She's lost one tenant, will be moving out shortly, already has, Wesley Jones, and frankly, I don't think the other tenant really pays his rent on a regular basis, so.
I'd love to see proof of remediation.
The tanks have been removed actually, some time ago. There is a deed, we could actually get our same environmental group who's working with us at Long Valley at the old firehouse. Sandra could definitely get that file for us. The tanks are gone, but you'd still want to do some additional testing.
Yeah. But the tanks are gone.
Tanks are gone?
Okay. 'Cause I've only
That's what I was.
that's, yeah, I
No, they're
mean,
not.
we've asked people, like, you know, guys who have been around town for a long time, and we asked them, have you ever seen tanks pull out of there? They said, no. So I'd like to see the paperwork. If it's true,
Thank
it's
you,
true.
Joel.
I worked with Sandra. I was the one who recommended Sandra years ago for Long Valley. I think she's excellent, and she's pretty cost efficient, but if you'd like, I could shoot her an email and just ask her what she'll typically do with that type of a property, and that would usually not really cost you guys anything. She'll process an Oprah request with the DEP, and we'll get everything in record.
Okay.
So why don't I do that as the next step, and we'll see who's right about that.
Yeah.
Again, even if there are stuff of record on an old property like that, there absolutely could still be something else that nobody knew about, so we'd want to do some.
Yeah, like the second tank at Walnut Valley.
Yeah, that,
sure.
like that.
Yeah.
It's a third tank.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but you do have a property owner there who's willing to sit down with us at any time you guys are ready to proceed. And
Let's do this.
I'll see if I can get some environmental information for us through
I think
Sandra.
that's a great idea. It's a nice way to move forward.
And keep her in the loop that
Oh,
we
absolutely.
are interested in, and we're trying to
Well,
move forward here.
Mrs. Davitt was my babysitter when I was a kid, so I know her.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
Sharon, don't be, if you're watching this, I didn't mean it.
But he may have needed better supervision.
There we go.
Just, all right, that's good. It would be really nice to have a better view when you enter town.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
So we'll keep working on that.
Excellent. Great. Let's go to the Township Committee member Lance.
Okay, well, it's been a busy month. Had a couple of meetings with Christine Wilda, our CFO, to discuss different budget things with Deputy Mayor Orcutt, and we talked about that earlier. We presented the budget tonight. We talked about some of the great things that are going on in it, mainly the fact that it's not going up. We like that. We like that a lot. I did have the opportunity to attend a meeting for Blairstown Elementary on March the 16th. I had a deep discussion with the business administrator as far as the student census and as far as their budget, which they were just ready to, submit for approval. They couldn't, they don't publish it yet. They actually have to go through the county school board first, and then they get it back and they introduce it. So they're actually looking at a pretty big loss. I think they were looking at $150,000 loss as far as expected aid. But of course, they don't know that until the state budget goes through. But that's what they're being told. That's what I have for Blairstown Elementary School. Then tonight, actually, I was at a meeting that started at 6 o'clock, which was I just made it here in time, I guess. But the 5-year strategic plan is what they're working through for North Warren. And it's pretty fascinating. They got together a pretty large group of stakeholders to try and get a feel. Some recent graduates, some current students, some different representatives that are teachers, parents, guidance from each department. And it's nice because they, some of what you submit, you're submitting by using a smartphone, and some of what you submit is completely anonymous, right? So some of it, of course, you're going to be able to tell, like, okay, the feedback that they're giving is clearly from a student, you know, or it's clearly from a parent or whatever. But they don't know the names of who's there. That data is being collected by an outside agency, and they come together to put forth the things that are important to the different stakeholders. It's nice. So that was the second meeting. There's another meeting in May. I think it's May 11th. So that's what they're working on right now. And of course, they're pretty far into their budget process as well. Dr. Janine Dutt was she's the superintendent at North Warren. She also attended the Blairstown Elementary meeting and gave a nice presentation there, had a question and answer. It's nice to see them getting along well. It's nice to see that they have adopted some of the same student contact information, some of the same apps that are in use at Blairstown Elementary, which is pretty good. Let's see. There's a play that was this past weekend called Anastasia, and they actually are still going to have 3 more presentations of that this weekend. Friday, March 24th at 6, Saturday, March 25th at 6, and Sunday, 24th, 25th, and 26th. The Sunday the 26th is at noon. And something else I wanted to talk about. We have spoken in the past about mental health and the need for the ability to counsel if someone comes to you. If someone comes to you and you don't know how to deal with it or who to refer it to or what action to take in order to make sure that that person who might need counseling, might need services, might need anything, just a shoulder to cry on, someone to listen. There's a training that's going to be happening. It's called QPR. It's Question, Persuade, Refer. But it's QPR Gatekeeper Training. It's going to be on April 20th at the Warren County Community College and May 11th right here at North Warren. So May 11th, it's a 3-step intervention process to help those who are in crisis. And I think the title gives you a pretty good idea, but Question, Persuade, Refer. What would you do if someone came up to you and they were in the middle of some type of a mental breakdown or some type of crisis, that each one of us would want to have the best possible answer about what do I do with this information. I know I myself spent a lot of time working with youth, and you start to realize that sometimes people just don't really feel like they have anybody who's listening or have anybody to turn to. And so this is a way that you can prepare for those types of circumstances. So I think I will be there. So if you have any interest, it's May 11th at 6:30 at North Warren. Blairstown Historical Preservation Committee. Oh, lots of good things going on there. We talked about the footbridge restoration. I met with Christine Beagle twice, and we're meeting again tomorrow. We're working to speed up a grant application for the Warren County Municipal and Charitable Conservancy Trust. That's a big mouthful, but that's basically our open space, county open space funds, is that right? And we start to go through the grant application process because it's going to be expensive, and it's a bridge, and it's a walk bridge. So when you look at the different proposals and things that come and are important to the township committee, like a water system is going to far outweigh a walk bridge to get you to a park. But these types of things that are worth preserving and that funds have been put aside for charitable for historical preservation, we'd like to get our application in and put our hat in the ring for that type of funding. We've also looked at the opportunities for other types of funding, and we have requested copies of previous successful grants from that body in order to improve our chances of earning that grant. And that's what I have for that. You saw this evening that we received the resignation of Teresa Tamboro from COA. That's what I have for that. For senior citizens, I'm going to let Deb, I don't know if you know, but they this a really nice thing that the high school does is when they have the play that's being held in the evenings, they also have a courtesy presentation to the senior citizens in Blairstown, and they give a grand invite for anybody who wants to come. They make all the close parking available to them, and they have a courtesy showing of that particular play, and they have refreshments afterwards. It's very nice. It's a nice thing to have. That's what I have. That's what I have for today.
Okay, thank you. Committee Member McAtura.
Hey, I'll start off with the ACO. On Monday, the ACO was here to present before the Land Use Board. He went into great detail about how he monitors, parking complaints. Also, he explained a lot about what it would take to do electronic monitoring, and spent a lot of time as far as what the state requires for the kennels. So there was some misunderstanding on the public of what we were actually discussing, but he did bring a wealth of knowledge. His presentation was outstanding, so anybody that wants to listen to it would have to over the Land Use Board meeting, and you'll learn quite a bit from that. As far as his February calls, there was only 24 calls of service, so that was a good thing. He does have his SUV out there now, which is a black SUV. You may see it running around town with a little sign on the side. He's also got a strobe light on it, so you'll see him out there then and about. Some of his more interesting calls. He did have a dog bite for a human, chickens at large, bat in the church, a fox under a desk, and he removed the nest, bird's nest. But everything else is dogs at large, cats, things of that nature. But he does do an outstanding job. As far as the police department, I want to remind everybody on March 30th, the fire department and the police department are having a basketball game for a fundraiser, and all the proceeds go to the police unity tour.
What's your prediction?
Oh, no doubt it's going to be the police department. Sorry, fire department. First out there. Sorry, Bob. You can't know.
Are you playing, Bob? Are you?
Yes, I'll be playing.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
We can have an anchor standing by just in case.
Okay, you can drive yourself, kid.
it's for a great cause, so anybody.
Meadowlark, how is that? Is there any truth to that? Yeah, it is.
Is that the only,
I believe it's at the elementary school.
Johnny had it
Yes,
last week? Okay, yeah. So it's for a great cause. The other thing is, 7 o'clock, correct. The other thing is, the alert system, the old Nextel system, next week they're going with a new company. The police chief is going to put on Facebook all the information for the new alert system. So anybody that wants to sign up for that, hopefully it'll be out within the next week, he's telling me. And I don't have the name of it, but he's going to post it on the police department's website. As I mentioned last month, we were looking at and doing an investigation at the Dean Farm, reference animal cruelty. There was a large press release put out by the prosecutor's office on that. There was an arrest made, and I believe there's a total of 17 charges. So the police department and our ACO played a very integral part in not only starting that, but following up. Now everything is basically in the courts, and the state is also, and the county are involved in monitoring the situation at this point. So we're really kind of done with our part, but they did an outstanding job. The other thing is, they've had several complaints with individuals passing school buses in the morning and the evening with red lights on. So what the police department has done now is randomly following school buses. Just hope they can, not only presence, but maybe if it's the same official person, we'll catch them and alleviate that. The other thing is the blue envelope initiative that we spoke about is now put in place. So that's for drivers with special needs. And what you can do is you can pick up, it's a package at the police department. It's literally a blue envelope, and you put in your information, or the driver's information, with special needs. Whatever it may be. It could be a speech impediment. It could be hearing impediment. But it's for, when the individual gets stopped, they give them, along with their driver's credentials, they can give them this blue envelope, and it will explain whatever issue that driver may have, so that it automatically alerts the officer to what the problem may be. I mean, they don't have to think that, okay, right away the person's intoxicated or being, whatever, non-compliant. So it's a new initiative that Warren County put out. It is available for anybody that that has special needs and drives. They can pick up the package at the police department. And just lastly, for the police department, some of their more interesting calls, there are a number of calls, motorist assist, there was 3 property checks in the area, and they left 375 for the month of February. Medical assist, 35. So I think Bob here could attest to when it goes out, obviously the police department are already out there on the road, so a lot of times.
You do a breakdown if you like.
We don't need a breakdown now. The point being, for the police department, they're very active in responding to these calls also. And they do carry some equipment with them, which is also of help. Property checks for the schools are 50. We talked about the third-party overtime details. I looked at the list. It's pretty much every day between the different, I know we have Optimum, we have Planet Network out there. And the other thing that just I want to mention is court. We only had 2, quote, service calls for court. A lot of the court right now is still being done virtually. And I'm going to mention that for the entire last year, for the court's expenditure was $55,395.12. So I know a year and a half ago before I came here, I was very adamant that I would love to have seen the court come back here. But when I look at that type of an expenditure, and then you would say, okay, you need to hire a judge, you need to hire a prosecutor, court administrator, deputy court administrator, not to mention refurbishing the building. There's no way we can kind of meet that kind of expenditure. So it's been a whoever, and again, it wasn't me, I can't take credit for it. We budgeted $65,000, it only came out to $55,000. It's an outstanding job in keeping our court costs down. And that's all I have there.
Thank you. Committee member Walter.
Okay, I spoke to Patty Sagan, and Patty is our recreation director who does an absolutely excellent job. And Patty is going to put a new report out for what's going to be available for the next few months, particularly in the summer months. Our COA, we've discussed our COA obligation and what's going to happen, and I will get those records to you from that. Senior citizens, I have been speaking to Lorraine, and we're going to meet and sit down and have some plans put in place so that for the next meeting we can tell you what the agenda is going to be going forward in the future. I've spoken to some of the board members from North Warren Regional about the loss of funds from the state, particularly because they put this information out. They put the amount of dollars of revenue that they've lost since this happened, and they're frankly very upset. And some of the programs are going to be cut. They're saying, some of the things that your children want to see. It's one thing to get an education. That's the most important. That's the reason you send them to school. But children also want to have other programs that they don't want to see a loss. So those kind of things they're concerned about those kind of things. Blairstown Historical. The Blairstown case, you've all gotten a picture of the Blairstown case inventory that was applied to.
I was just told to give that to the store.
To the store, okay. All right, I'll pass this down to you. Kelly Durbin, who is the representative from the library, has sent an email stating that she's looking for a transfer date for the newspapers and the display case as their construction timing is coming close. So she needs us to come forth and give her a date. We've got to put a plan in place when we get that done.
Why didn't the display case come over here? It was only the newspapers.
It's apparently a display case for the newspapers. That was
The rack. There's a rack here.
yeah.
The rack.
They're calling it a display case.
Okay.
That's what her comment
Well,
was.
it's not a display case there.
Okay, while you're.
There's a whole bunch, these were given to the lady.
Yeah.
This is their inventory.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is that's the inventory list.
That's okay.
Just so you know. Kevin, there's a program that's coming out, and it started in Florida, but it's going to the federal government. It's called Third Floor Structural Engineering Report and Reserve Funds. It's starting in Florida, and I know that it's going to come here because of the issue with the condominium collapse in Florida in Miami Beach. So now they're going to put together a program, and it's going to require anybody who's a significant third floor structure, like we see in some of the buildings downtown area, that those structures be examined, a reserve report be published, and then the reserve funds required to rehabilitate those buildings. So New Jersey hasn't announced it yet that I know of, but I'd like you to keep your eye on it because it is coming this way, and it will definitely impact some of our area. Wells. I've been asking for probably 2 years, public wells and private wells. We used to get a report from the Warren County Health Department. It's important, really important, that we get that report again, because it tells us when there's contamination issues and gives us the availability to alert residents in that area, schools, churches, wherever they might be, that there's a contamination issue. And we're not seeing that report anymore. So I'd really like to get the health department to send it. They used to send it monthly.
What she asked last time, and they stopped it because of COVID.
Yeah, they did, I know. I'd like to, now that COVID's over with, for the most part, I'd like to see if we can't invite them to do that again, because there is a couple public wells that I'm aware of that have a problem. So I would like to be able to
I
make
can reach out to them again and see if they're gonna.
I appreciate that. And that's all I've got, other than I am a grandmother now of an 8-month-old little chocolate island. My grandson, he was just born March 2nd.
And we're glad you could be here with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Orcutt.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I did plenty of talking tonight, but already, one of the main focuses has been the finance subcommittee for the last month to ensure that we have a good budget meeting, and all that is progressing nicely. I know that Joel came tonight, and Joel, if you want to come up and say anything, if you have anything to bring up tonight,
I have a couple of questions.
now is the time. If you might want to come up like everyone else, though.
Yeah.
Under open spaces is why I'm bringing this up.
Can I be like Kevin? Speak.
You're not as cool as Kevin.
Of course not.
You're not wearing a sweater vest.
I've been pulling it up all night for a while.
You come in here,
I commend you.
Joel, you come in here with a sweater vest, you can do anything you want.
Just the sweater vest?
Oh, no. Bad.
That's quick.
If you're going out in a hurry.
We had an issue with two things. One was the closing and filing of, I don't even understand what it is, with the county when we preserved the Board of Education, the Greenfields.
There we go.
And,
Yeah, I think there was just a couple extra signatures. We needed to grab the land use board chairman's signature.
Yes,
I think we're pretty much done.
Yeah, the land use board's
Yeah.
president wants to see the Rossi,
Yeah.
so that was forwarded to him. So
Oh,
once
okay.
he reviews that, then he'll
Yeah,
decide.
I had actually asked Kim Testa whether we really needed, since we actually took formal action here and the mayor had signed, in the form, I said, do we really need the land use board chairman? She ran up the poll and she said, yeah, they still want it, so that was the delay there. But we're almost done.
Okay. And the other thing was, I prepared a letter for the mayor's signature
It's been
addressing
signed and sent.
our 2-year-old late response to the
Signed and sent.
signed and sent.
Would you like me to send you a copy
And-
tomorrow?
Yeah, and the date, that the completion of the plan, was that changed?
You said to change it to April.
Yes. Okay, yeah, so, I
I did
assume you would want me to.
I'm not feeling quite as under the gun as you are, Joel, about, reporting back our progress. But as you know, I would like to include the removal of that building in our next correspondence with the state. So it'll be fine. Don't worry.
Oh, I'm not worried about it, but I did.
Sounds like you are.
I did volunteer to write it,
Understood.
and I thought I was gonna have 2 months, but now I got 1 month, you know what I'm saying?
Joel.
Yes,
We
sir.
If they get the report in May or June, it'll be fine. They only ask us every 2 or 3 years, they only ask us anyway, so it'll be fine.
But as you know, I cannot get repaid the $1,600 in soft costs from that project, nor can we apply for anything else until we address it.
Understood, Joel.
Okay.
Well, we did address it by sending a letter and telling them the progress, by the way.
Okay.
I don't think the $1,600 is incumbent upon the report of what we're going, well, then you worded it poorly, but okay.
I gave you a chance to edit it.
I think when we send in this documentation, Kim said we'll get the $1,700.
Yeah.
That we're gonna get.
Right,
That's not
that was the
dependent
trigger
on
to get the money, Joe,
Yeah,
so.
as far as I understand, that's not dependent on general.
Okay, that's not what I heard, but I don't want to argue it.
Good.
And there was something else, but I can't think of it. Oh, I've got,
Yeah, Joel, we'll put the plaque up pretty soon, don't worry. The McGreen plaque, we'll get it up, don't worry.
no, you did ask me to get 2 new open space maps.
Yep.
Okay. And they're here, they're ready to go. I don't know what you want me to do about
You need
this.
to do nothing, thank you
I
very
will.
much for
I will.
procuring them.
Okay.
And we're going to hang, one is going to hang in this room, so every time we talk about open space, we can point to the map and point the public to a map. It's in a tough spot in the corner over there. We're going to take care, and I do appreciate your efforts of getting that done, going through, I believe, Bridge and Valley or whoever.
Yeah,
How are you gonna-
Bob Canese.
Bob Canese got it done, who is not a Bridge and Valley.
No.
Clearly not.
I am.
You are, yes.
So I guess you could, no.
I think I need to join Bridge and Valley. That's my next thing I need to do.
Me too.
You can take that over? Thank you very
That's funny,
much.
Joel.
Huh?
That's funny.
Well,
No.
you did with a lot of things that I've been involved in.
Okay.
What else do you have?
And listen, Mayor, that's pretty much all I have.
No.
I'm good for
There's
tonight.
got to be something about roads.
Yeah,
Roads.
one thing, no, wait. We worked on a really good comprehensive road program for when the weather breaks. We've got it already on the books, and Eric will be preparing those.
Okay.
I did want to bring up, we talked about fireworks for 4th of July, which will be July 3rd. The actual 4th of July celebration in Blairstown is going to be, and I'm going to punt this to Karen. This is Karen's department, 4th of July.
So the 4th of July is run by Blairstown Fort, and we meet all year long, but usually in the off months, we really only have like 1 meeting a month, but we met 3 times in the past month and a half, and we typically source our funding first, and then we know we have some funding, any funding at all. We come back to the town and get their blessing to understand that we're welcome in the park on that day. So that's what stage we are at. We do have funding so far, commitments for $3,000, which is not bad. And we typically will come back to the town now and request the town's blessing and the ability to pay for our sanitation costs. And that's typically the addition of 3 porta potties and the hand washing stations, and it's just the sanitation. I did discuss with Eric briefly today. The DPW gives wonderful support as far as garbage disposal and removal. We have all volunteers that come to help set it up, help collect, and remove to a dump truck that he leaves on site. So that's covered. But that's the stage that we're at. Pretty soon we'll be putting out a call for vendors, and as you know, we typically try to include as many of the nonprofits in town as possible. We look towards them to be able to put their recruitment efforts and their mission, whatever it is that they, what services they provide, what connections they provide, what ability to, everything from youth sports to some of the churches to some of the fraternal organizations, sorority organizations. It's available to everybody. It's a nice time. So that's where we're at with that. And I neglected to speak about it in my part, so thank you very much for tossing that over to me, because it's hard for us to go planning much past that until we have an understanding of funding and ability to hold that event. So I'm going to ask if somebody would move to allow us the ability to have that event on the 4th.
You move it, we'll second it.
I move that we have 4th of July with Blairstown 4th at Bridge Park on Monday, July 4th this year.
I'll second that motion.
Roll call, please, Kristen.
Mrs. Lance?
Yes.
Mr. McAtora?
Yes.
Mr. Orcott?
Yes.
Mrs. Waldron?
Yes.
Mayor Moorhead?
Let's do the 4th, yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, back to me. Senior,
You have a T-shirt that says that.
senior, my senior liaison, our senior liaisons, are we doing anything with the outstanding senior citizen of Warren County application? Which are due, they're due April 3rd, so we do have a little bit of time, but please consider our, maybe Lorraine has been working on, oh, okay. I don't want it to be overlooked.
That's quite a reaction you got.
That's all right, maybe Lorraine deserves it, you know?
Well, then we shouldn't tell her that.
Well,
Too bad Bob's not old enough to be a senior.
Okay, well, I'll leave that to you guys.
Everybody here can be my children.
Okay, Dad, that's great. I'm going to throw one thing, I'm going to throw something out there. Main Street speed bumps. They've been removed for the winter for plowing, but do we need to put them back? We would need to give, Eric would want to hear from the whole committee other than just me about not putting them back, but.
Ask somebody from the post office today, because people were flying down that street and almost ran over a postal worker who was crossing the street.
I'd like to see the chief weigh in on that.
I would too.
I for one, think they're there for a pretty good reason.
I'll leave that alone. Okay, BEC, a representative of the BEC came to me and asked me that during their spring cleanup, which they're going to do the next month or so in Footbridge Park, they also would like to paint a mural. This is a pretty ambitious thing they want to do. Paint a mural on the blacktop area that the skate park will actually be constructed on. And they want to paint something that is somewhat artistically reflective of a skate of what they're trying to build there. I don't think it's a bad idea. It doesn't hurt anything. Something along these lines. This was the example they sent us. It won't be exactly like this, but just something colorful, flowing on the black top. It's just, you know. And I see no harm whatsoever in letting them do it. It's quite an undertaking, if you ask me, but.
Do they have an artist to do it?
Yeah, sure. It's on them, that's right. So, is that, the committee gonna be okay with that?
That blacktop's pretty ugly as it is. Anything to do so, yeah.
I know we have consensus on that just by head nodding, so we'll let it leave it at that. All right, I'm going to finish there. Mayor, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Let's see. Most of my stuff has been eaten up through the course of the meeting. The February 2023 fire report from Blairstown Hose Company #1. On February 15th, had a big celebration at night with the delivery of their new engine 4663. This has been in the build stages for almost a year. We appropriated the funds for it in a bond last year, and it is a beautiful machine, and it's something that they are going to be able to use for many, many years to come. It actually went on its first call. It was not even supposed to go on a call, but they were coming back from a training session, and they got a call for a basement fire, I believe in Hardwick.
No, chimney fire.
Chimney fire? Yes. It was chimney fire? And got there in record time because they were already on the road, and actually got
Coming down Millbrook Road, they had to go to Stillwater or something. It couldn't be any.
Record time. It was a response time that couldn't be beat. Although as Chief Slater sent me the communication on how quickly they had responded, and then a really nice response from the homeowner saying they really couldn't believe how fast they got there, and it was, they took care of it in record time. It's really indicative of the response times that our volunteer fire company has in general. I've had three calls on my street in the past year and a half. And I saw how fast these volunteers who have to stop what they're doing, wherever they are, at their dinner table, at their, you name it, they're at Acme, they stop what they're doing, they get to that firehouse, they get their equipment on, and they get in the truck and out. Just amazing response. Sometimes it's as fast as 11 minutes from call to on the scene. You just don't see that. You don't see that in a lot of paid fire departments, but these are volunteers that bend over backwards for the lives and the property that our residents have. It's really nice to see. So that engine was put into use. Didn't realize they were going to have to, but they did, and it's a great addition to the firehouse. We had a housing ceremony, they call it. I didn't know what a housing ceremony.
Push-in, sir.
Well, no, they call it a housing. You call it a push-in.
It was a push-in.
Chief Slater will argue with you. A housing.
He's the boss.
Right, so I'm going to go by what Chief Slater says. Harkens back to the days where when you had horse-drawn apparatus, the pumpers, and actually we have one of those in the firehouse that was pulled by horses here. When you brought the horses would bring the apparatus around the front, they take the horses off, bring them to the stable, and then all the members would push the unit back in. You like to call it a push-in, they call it a housing. I don't know, but you were there, I think, for one of the original push-ins, so I'm not gonna argue with you. But what? He's the one saying anyone can be his offspring here. So it was really nice to see a lot of surrounding towns sent their fire departments over, and everyone just gathered around, put hands on this vehicle. I can't say it was really pushed in by hand because this is a many ton vehicle, but they got it up and in. It was really nice. It was a good celebration to see the fire departments come together. In the month of February, Blairstown Host Company #1 answered 24 calls for service, 19 in Blairstown, 3 in Hardwick, and 2 in Frelinghuysen. Blair Academy, we had a nice sit down with Jim Frick from Blair Academy. We haven't talked to him in a while. It was nice to catch up, and we wanted to bring him up to date and up to speed on what we're doing with their water supply, with our well and the repairs we have going on with that. And also the removal of the Paulina Dam. Looks like it's still on track for this summer to finally come down.
That's supposed to come in April.
Yep, Beth Seiler Barry's coming in at our April meeting to give us an update on that. Speaking of the April meeting, I like to really kind of make sure everyone can be here. We enjoy a full quorum here. And I know we have a couple of scheduling conflicts for April.
For the 26th.
Right.
Our normal meeting's the 26th.
And does anyone have a problem with Wednesday the 19th for our next meeting? So if you can just...
The 26th, I cannot make it.
That's why we're talking about the 19th.
Yeah. I can definitely make the 19th.
Okay.
No, I have another meeting that night, but I can miss it.
The attorney will not be present.
I have Glen that night, although they tend to be relatively quick, so I might be able to do both of them. So I'll do that.
I have to move something, so I have to get back to you tomorrow, Kristen.
All right, so it could be on the 19th. We'll say that for now. Okay. And speaking of missing meetings, I just on a personal note want to say that 2 years ago tonight, I was hospitalized and came very close to dying. I was down to a platelet count of 1 and was saved by a bunch of transfusions for platelet transfusions. And whenever you see a sign out saying blood donation, blood drive, and you haven't done it and you can do it, think about doing it. Think about donating platelets. You have no idea who you're saving when you do that. You could be saving your neighbor, you could be saving yourself someday. Just make sure. And I'm very happy. That was the only meeting I've missed in my 4 years here. And I'm really very, very happy to still be here and be sitting up in front of you guys now. Yeah, the Blair fireworks, that's right. That is coming up, it is Saturday night. I'm being handed stuff. Oh, look at, there's the tie-in. Rotary Blood Drive, Saturday, 24th, at the Lion's Den in Knowlton. So you were a little late, but that's a great tie-in. Thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, so there it is, Rotary Blood Drive, you people at home. Saturday the 24th, Lion's Den. You want to save a life, that's how you do it. You don't have to be a first responder, you just have to give blood. You people are done. You're done. What did you hand me? Well, fireworks, Blair Academy this weekend. So, right, so lock up your horses and make sure if you have sensitive dogs, if you live near Blair Academy, you're going to hear fireworks this weekend. It's their annual event. All right, can we have a motion to adjourn, please?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Second?
You're adjourning?
All in favor?
Are you not open for the public again?
No, that's not on. We do one public hearing.